Okay, everyone. I'm doing an update for our preceptor program, and I thank everyone for watching this video or attending the training live if you actually saw it live. This is a training program that deals with paramedic students in particular. There are parts that pertain to EMT students as well, but much of this deals directly with paramedic students. So I'll try and respect your time and get this done as quickly as I can. Understand that EMTs and paramedics are different. I don't expect you to turn over calls to EMTs. Paramedics, on the other hand, by the time they get into the field experience, should be ready to run calls. Obviously, they don't know your protocol, so they'll need help with that. But for the most part, paramedic students should be able to run calls. The idea of paramedic orientation, or excuse me, paramedic field experience is for those paramedics to run calls under the supervision of another paramedic. It is not necessarily something where they do a bunch of skills, okay? This is our education goal. It's straight from the COE language. You can read it. It's basically this is our goal of the entire program. So just as a background, it's been a long time since you guys have maybe done the paramedic course. The first phase of the paramedic course is the didactic portion. It's pure lecture. They practice the skills that they learn in lecture in a lab. Every student, before they enter a clinical or field environment, demonstrates competencies of those skills in labs, and then incorporates those skills into a scenario. I'm going to give you an example of endotracheal intubation. So a new student first learns about endotracheal intubation in the lab, or in lecture rather. Then they practice road skills training in the tracheal intubation. Then we give them scenarios where they have to determine if a patient needs to be intubated and demonstrate the steps of intubation of those patients. Then they go over across the street or to Fort Madison for clinics, right? And this is very much a skills training and evaluation process over there, where they actually see live patients, go to the OR, ICU, whatever. And now this is the part where we're in now, which is the capstone field internship part. Other than final testing, this is the last step of the paramedic program. And your role is as an evaluator of that student, as a trainer of that student during this capstone field internship. This is where they apply all of the information from those previous steps into this. They have completed the didactic portion of the course. They have gained pretty much all of the knowledge that they're going to get. This lets them do that, right? This is a definition of a team lead for COE, who's our accrediting body, right? Basically, the real goal of this is for the paramedic student to develop a plan to effectively manage a patient, including field impression, directing the treatment, disposition, and how to move the patient with minimal to no prompting by the preceptor. Again, they don't know your protocols, so it would be certainly allowed to do that, right? They're graded on a 0 to 3 scale, with 3 being successful, 2 being a successful evaluation, right? So this is just sort of a visual representation of those phases. All right, so this is the parts that maybe causes the most confusion. We use a tool called Platinum Planner, or platinumplanner.com. Now, all of you have a login to platinumplanner.com. So what I do every spring is I email the director of the ambulance services and ask them for a list of all the paramedics. And for any new paramedics, I will set up an account with them, right? It will set them up as a preceptor. And this video counts as preceptor training. Now, if you look here, there's more training involved. Actually, if I were able to scroll down, if this wasn't a screenshot, you would see that there's more training that you can do. However, this presentation counts as our training. But again, what I'm going to go over here is included in videos that are packaged into the system. So here you can see that I, because I'm logged in as the preceptor here, have one student opportunity to review. For those of you who are using your Platinum Planner account after you were already a student, notice here this says preceptor. If you check that, if you click on that where it says preceptor, you'll also see your student account. So you want to make sure that that's set for a preceptor. And as you can see, I have one student opportunity to review. So I click on that, it'll take me to this screen, right? This particular one, our student was Andrew Skinner, and I need to complete his evaluation, right? So how long do you have to complete this? Ideally, you would do it when the student was finished for the day, when they were finished for their documentation. If you go a week and haven't completed it, I will send you a gentle reminder via email that you have documentation that hasn't yet been done. After a couple of weeks, I'll send another reminder. At some point, usually, I will send a message to your leadership asking gently if you could please do this. This documentation has to be done for students before they get credit for the ride time. Now, all of you are students, and so all of you can understand how important it is to get credit for the ride time. So once you click on that, so when you click here, it says complete, this is what comes up, right? So the next two slides are sort of two pieces of the exact same page, right? So this particular student did his field internship at Burlington Fire Station 1. This is the time that he was scheduled to start and end. This is the time that the student actually said that they started and ended. Please ensure that that time is correct, right? Make sure that the student, if they were late a half an hour, make sure that that's reflected. If they were late an hour getting finished with their shift, make sure that that's reflected, okay? So that was the review tab. Actually, there was no extra. This is the one that has the two parts. That was the review tab. This is the forms tab, all right? So this is a log of who's accessed this. These are the patients, okay? So under this tab, Andrew, which was me because I did this for him, said we saw one 80-year-old patient, male, had an allergic reaction, a live patient. This is the skills that he said he did. I put assessment of medical patient geriatric twice, but not important. He said he started an IV, that the patient had respiratory failure or distress, and the patient was in shock, right? If you have any notes about that, you can click right there and add notes, right? So you can review. If this was an actual patient, there would be a note narrative there that would discuss what happened on the call, right? Oops, that is not what I wanted to do at all. I'm sorry, I had to answer the phone there. So we're next going to go to the forms tab. These two forms are the ones that Andrew would have filled out. You can review those if you would like. We'll also review them a little bit later. But when you click the form tab, you'll see that there are two forms here, two forms that have this little symbol right here. There's no green check mark. We need to turn those green. So when we click the clinical evaluation, we need to fill out the form. And here's the form, okay? Simply rate this student based off of your evaluation of their performance. This is the overall ability of the student, not on any one call, but the overall for the shift. 1 is not very good, 5 is exceptional. 5 means that you think that this student could have done this without your help, okay? When you're finished, click Save, and as you can see, that turns this to a green check mark, right? So now we have preceptor field shift evaluation, right? So we need to click Edit. Then we also need to click on the patient. Okay, you'll see what I'm talking about. So we click on the patient, and this brings up, the student's evaluation of themselves. Okay, the student's comments were, "I'm so good," right? These will already be checked, already be filled in, because the student has evaluated himself, okay? Right? Then you scroll down, click patient, and you scroll down and you'll see these things that you need to collect. This is that 3-point scale. Student is competent, marginally competent, or unsuccessful. You need to accept on these boxes, put any comments in that you may have for them. And then at the bottom of that page, it says, "Yes, I would like this student's teacher to contact me." If you check that, I'll get an email and I'll give you a call. Accept just means that you're applying your signature to the document, right? Once you've done either or both of those, click Save. Now you can see both of those are green checked. So I'm going to go back just a little bit. To do this, you not only have to click here and edit, you also have to click on the patient part. And there may be 4 or 5 patients depending on how many calls you had for that day, okay? And you'll have to complete the evaluation for each one of those. So when you leave this page, this forms page, those should both be green, right? The documents page, unless the student uploaded an ECG or something like that, there shouldn't be anything for documents. Now we have the complete tab, put your signature there and click approve documentation, right? Then once you get back, you should have no more opportunities to review. Please make sure that you complete both of these forms. Both of those forms are key to how we evaluate the patient. We do not, the student. We don't evaluate the student based off of any one call, but their overall performance. Okay, so make sure that those two have green check marks. Right? So the evaluation, the standard that you have is, would you work with that student? Would you be willing to work with that person? Would you allow that person to take care of a member of your family? Completion of the course, the hours of the course does not ensure competency. That is done by evaluation, both evaluation here at the college and evaluation as part of the field and clinical experience. Okay, the preceptor is a role model for what we expect of the student. They're an educator. Please teach the paramedic student. Teach them how to be paramedics. Don't give them shortcuts like, yes, but this is what we do in the field. Be an educator for them. Be an evaluator. Give constructive feedback to that student. So why did you start an IV on that patient? Or why did you want to start an IV? Did the patient need an IV? Or maybe the patient needed an IV and they didn't think so, right? Recognize that the student is going to see their scores or can see their scores if they look them up. And you need to be objective about that, right? Most of this takes place after the call. We, of course, know that the student should be interrupted in their management of the patient if there's a detriment to patient care. So in general, I would like to see you allow the student to struggle. I'm going to give you an example. You have a patient with abdominal pain, otherwise hemodynamically stable, but the patient has abdominal pain. And the paramedic student does not know what to do next, is struggling. Let them struggle a little bit, okay? The patient is not suffering. We don't know exactly what's going on with the patient, but they don't seem to be struggling. Let the paramedic student struggle a little bit. You learn from that kind of things. Allow the student to delegate tasks and skills. This part of their training is not about doing things like starting IVs. That's not what this is about. This is about them assessing a patient, developing a plan for that patient, implementing that plan for the patient, and then reevaluating the student or this patient to make sure that the plan worked, right? So it's perfectly appropriate for them to say the patient needs to be intubated, and then allow you as the preceptor to intubate the patient. They're delegating the responsibilities and tasks. In clinics, they did the tasks. Now it's perfectly fine for them to delegate things like blood pressures, IVs, things like that, okay? That's the one thing that they should not delegate is the assessment of the patient. Now, this is an old picture. This is a form that I would like the individuals in their last few shifts who evaluate the student for the last 48 hours of their field internship to fill out, okay? It simply is a judgment based of whether or not you thought that the student is competent. Does not mean they passed, failed. It is one of the pieces of the evaluation of the student. Okay, don't belittle the student. Every student makes mistakes. You all were mistakes as well. The overriding thing that students have is not knowing what it is that they're supposed to do. These people maybe have never been to your station before. They don't know where things are. They don't know where they're supposed to sit. They don't know if they can put their lunch in your refrigerator. They don't know anything like that. Help them. Give them a little bit of an orientation to your department, not just the ambulance, but your department. This is where the bathroom is. Please pee with the toilet seat up, whatever. Don't be a jerk. Help the students, okay? But anytime the student is assessing a patient and patient care is threatened, intervene. After the call, just tell them, this is why I jumped in. Thought the patient was deteriorating and I wanted to get into the patient immediately. Again, this is paramedics, not EMTs. If a student needs remediation or retraining, let us know. We'll bring a student back in, maybe bring them, for instance, a student is struggling with IVs. Maybe we'll send them back to clinic to get more practice. We'll give them guidance. We'll help them. We'll counsel them. Okay? As always, feel free to contact me if you have any issues. Most of you probably have my cellular number. This is it. I try really hard during the field experience phase to actively monitor my cell phone so that I can answer questions quickly. That is the best way to get a hold of me. If it's not urgent, then certainly you can send me an email as well. My office number is pretty hit and miss. So I would try my cell phone first. When should you absolutely contact me? Well, some of these are immediate, some of them later. If you ask a student to leave a field experience site for whatever reason, doesn't matter. So the supervisors there or something like that have said, you really need to go home. I need to know that right away, especially if there's a question if the student's under the influence, right? For any reason, I need to know right away. You do not have to contact me to ask permission for the student to leave. If the supervisor there wants to have the patient leave, by all means, tell the patient to go. Then please contact me. I will almost certainly ask for you to send me an email so I know why, right? And then any other time you think there's something that I need to know, I'd prefer you send me an email if it's not critical, but whatever it is you want to do. If you want me to talk to you in person over the phone, that's fine as well. But those more critical things, I wish you would call me. right? So remember, students are eager to learn. They're probably actually eager to get the whole thing over with, but it's okay to let them struggle. Let them struggle. It's fine. Stand there and watch them fail. As long as patient care is not compromised, stand there and watch them fail. Only intervene if they just don't get it, or if something is threatening to the patient's life. Okay? So if you have any questions at all, feel free to contact me. I'm certainly available. Your Platinum Planner login is your email and then the word password. So whatever email your department gives me plus the word password is what is your login. Now, if you have been a student here, you will keep the same login that you had before. For instance, last year, Hillary Baird was a student here. So I will just add her as a preceptor with that previous email. Okay. So if there's no questions, I hope we have a really successful student internship experience. And again, always feel free to contact me. Thanks.